Hello everyone, thank you so much for coming back. My name is Joanna and my passion is to help you get you through and past your limitations. These are going to be your messages for September. For those of you who are a regular for my channel, you'll notice I did not upload any August videos, hence why these videos are quite a bit longer. There was a lot of information that I channeled through. So if you can't watch it all at once, maybe break it into pieces. If you need to just get moving into the videos, I'll put a stamp down below so that you don't have to listen to the record to this part. But I want to say a few things. First and foremost, I want to say thank you. Thank you for being part of my channel. Thank you for being part of my journey. Thank you for always inspiring me and encouraging me to be the best at what I do. And you'll notice my work is changing. It has been changing for a while, but it's more apparent than any time before that the way I work is shifting and changing. So consequently, over the next few months, you will notice that the way my videos are coming out are a little bit different, or the way the messages are coming out in my videos are a little bit different. There seems to be a greater emphasis on healing, so there will be some energetic healing that will come through. I will talk about that more a little bit later on a different video. But more than anything, there seems to be a bit of a shift in terms of how I receive messages and also what types of messages want to come through me. So if you have watched my videos for a while, you may see a bit of a change. I feel to me, it's incredible. The change is always good. Change is not always easy. But nonetheless, I feel the way things are going to progress going forward is the messages will be maybe even much more meaningful, even though I find that they're meaningful anyways, and many of you find my messages meaningful. I feel it's going to be even more meaningful. There's going to be a lot more that I will be channeling through to you. Speaking of channeling, I have noticed more and more that I am beginning to use less and less visuals, as in cards, and much more channeling. So you will notice in some of the videos that I have cards, but I barely talk about the cards. I show them here and there, but most of the messages are channeled. I feel that's eventually how my messages will come through. They will probably be mostly channeled with maybe some visuals, some tools, but long time ago Spirit told me that eventually my work is going to consist of channeling information and not really reading cards. So you'll see that coming through more and more as time goes on. And is there anything else I wanted to say? Yes, the 6-month messages, which are on Vimeo from July until the end of this year, there's a link down there below for you. And more than anything, if this doesn't make sense to you because it is general, then listen to it down the road, or even end of September or even October. I often mention that these messages flow way beyond a certain month. So I wouldn't be surprised if the messages you hear in September cover September, October, and November, even towards the end of the year. So keep that in mind. Also, some messages may not make sense to you at all because they are general, and I can only cover so many scenarios in a general situation. With that said, if anything resonates with you, or if you feel pulled towards having more of a personal session with me, that information is down below, and I trust you know how to find me. And again, I want to thank you for being part of my channel. Without you, I wouldn't do this. My gratitude goes out to you, and I love hearing your comments. I love reading your comments, and yeah, I hope you enjoy these videos and all the other videos that follow. And with that said, let's move on into each individual sign. Hello, beautiful Cancerians. These are going to be your messages for the next several weeks, whenever you hear it, until about the end of September. I almost said April for some reason, which means that you may not understand it at first whenever you hear it. So if something doesn't make sense to you, or if none of it makes sense to you at the time when you first hear it, do yourself a favor and listen to it down the road. Chances are it'll begin making more sense to you as time goes on. I am recording this in the middle of August, so these messages, for some of you, you will be experiencing this in August, or you may have experienced it in August already. And for others of you, this is going to spill over to September. I had to close the window, and I feel like I have to say it for some reason, because there was a lot of noise happening outside, very uncharacteristic for where I live, and there's a whole bunch of kids playing around, and there was a lot of noise, so you might be able to hear that noise. But there's something interesting in it, in terms of the kids are making noise because they're playing, and I feel that for some reason I am supposed to say to some of you that you need your own playtime, or you need more playtime. So for those of you who are very restricted or very strict, or you are working a lot, whatever your deal may be, there is an indication for some of you that you would benefit from having more fun. And although that's, it's a very normal thing to say to anybody, it doesn't require, a medium or a psychic to say that. That message is supposed to mean something to some of you, even if it's just one person that's supposed to hear this in this way. So whatever that is, for whoever it's for, here's the message, and I hope it makes sense to you. For others of you, let me tune in what it is that I feel that's coming in for you energetically over the next I actually want to say the next few months. My messages, as most people's messages, they don't fit in a 4-week window or 6-week window. Generally, these will play out over the next several weeks or several months. But chances are pretty good that whatever you hear right now, it will come about for you, or it will be understood more by you as time goes on. And I wouldn't be surprised if for some of you, it's even up until the end of October. So what I'm feeling more than anything over the next little while, the idea of you opening yourself up and allowing yourself to be seen by the world. Now, whether it is to be seen by a person, whether it's to be seen by the world, whether you are opening up and expressing yourself as you are without holding back, whatever it is that you have been holding back, or you have had the tendency to shy away from, the next few weeks or few months seem to be focused on you releasing the need to prove yourself to others. Now, you don't have to be a Cancerian to hear that message. I think that message is really for everybody, but it is being brought up with you. So if you have been struggling with a sense of who you are in terms of you needing to prove yourself to others, or you holding yourself back, and that all stems from a certain level of value you hold about yourself, chances are that you will be working some things out within yourself that will enable you to be much more open in terms of who you are. So this could be as simple as you expressing gifts that are inherent to you, psychic gifts, healing gifts, any kind of gifts for that matter. It could be as simple as that. It could be as simple as you allowing yourself to be more expressive in a relationship, for example. If you've had difficulties with trust, chances are you've identified it and you've been working on it. And it seems like for a great majority of you who have had issues with trust or difficulties with trust, chances are quite high that you will allow yourself to be more trusting. And it's not that you're not trustworthy. It's issues with trust as it pertains to somebody or something else. The idea of hangman is being presented, and hangman to me always symbolizes some level of stuckness in a certain area. And for some of you, it seems to be an area of a serious relationship. So not just, a friend or, friend with benefits, but it's a serious relationship. So I would consider a serious relationship to be, a partnership, a marriage, girlfriend, boyfriend, something that's stable, something that's not necessarily stable, something that's solid, and something that qualifies as permanent. It could also connect to a job. We do have obviously commitments with job and with work, relationships with work, how we relate to work. So I feel like I'm tapping into two categories, into two types of individuals: those who have been struggling with a challenge around trust pertaining to relationships, love relationships, and for others it is about you trusting yourself, and with that comes the ability of being more open in terms of expression of who you are. So I feel like I'm toggling between two types of people. Essentially the idea is the same. For those of you who have been struggling with your own levels of self-worth, which will lead to challenges of trust. A lot of the times, it feels like you are taking back your power, and that's a very, I almost want to say it's a very cliche statement, but it is something. It is how I want to put it out there. So whether that means that you are taking your power back because you're realizing you are so much more, you are worth so much more than what you are getting or what you are allowing yourself to experience, and as a result you make some changes. Actually, that's the biggest area that I see. This ultimately leads you to some kind of a resolute decision. Now, the resolute decision to me means you decide something once and for all. For example, I will stop going back to relationships where I constantly feel like I'm not good enough and I have to prove myself, to essentially deciding that there is no one really you need to prove yourself to other than you. And chances are you have probably proven yourself more than once. So maybe the whole idea of needing to prove yourself altogether doesn't seem so necessary from now on. And that's kind of a complicated way of saying your levels of self-authority, or the way you feel about yourself, and therefore the way you project yourself to the world, seems to be shifting and changing. And with that comes higher level of confidence. Whenever we are more confident, we are always much more relaxed about being open in terms of who we are. I feel this is, for many of you, it's around relationships. For others of you, it's just general idea in life. So let's go through the cards and see how this all ties together. I do want to say that for some of you, this is around a commitment. You are either in a commitment right now, which you are struggling with. Again, it could be a commitment with a work environment. Or you are, you have had a series of commitments and they all seem to fall under the same category or under the same theme. And that theme or category is not enough. And I feel the not enough pertains to you attracting something that ultimately is not enough for you, but you have been accepting for whatever reason. Chances are you have been accepting a not enough situation for yourself because you on some level feel that you are not enough. And if you feel you are not enough, chances are you're not going to be open to everything that universe has to give you. So this is potentially a huge, almost like overturn from the way you were once and the way you are perceiving yourself today, and as a result, the way you project yourself forward. This is all about confidence to me. That is what strikes me the most. It's about raising your level of awareness in terms of who you are by admitting to yourself some things that might have been hard to admit. And as a result of admitting those things to yourself, you bring it out into the open and you deal with it effectively. And I want to give you an example because I don't want to make it feel too convoluted. Let's say you have been, let's say you are a person who is single or looking, and you have had a string of relationships that had issues, in which you have had issues with self-worth. Let's say you've attracted a relationship or a partner to yourself where you continued to relate to one another in such a way that it made you feel less than. Perhaps looking at some things within you means looking at the reasons why you you keep on attracting these type of relationships to you. And chances are, if it has been a pattern, if you have been involved in series of relationships where you end up feeling not good enough, then chances are quite high that the level of which you feel good enough about yourself isn't very high, and therefore you attract a relationship that acts as a mirror to you. So all relationships act as a mirror reflection, some more, some less, some better, some worse. So I'm going to leave it with that. I'm going to leave it at that. I think that that'll make a lot of sense to a lot of you. And if it doesn't, leave it for now and see if it makes sense to you down the road. Vulnerability was the other thing that I was seeing when I was tuning into your energy. And what I mean by vulnerability is you being much more open, or you allowing yourself to be much more open and therefore much more vulnerable. And that tells me that you have gathered enough strength, or more strength than you've had before, and you are choosing to no longer, or you are willing to no longer hide. You are choosing to no longer hide in whatever perspective or in whatever capacity, whether hide in your relationship, hide your feelings, hide your emotions, hide your needs, whatever that may be. I think I want to go through the cards because I feel like it's going to tie it all together. When I asked for the theme for you, 3 cards came out, and I felt they were all necessary for me to talk about. So I'll talk about them separately. The first card is a card of recognition and reward. So this is 3 of Wands. For those of you who read cards, this may mean something different to you. To me, it means you recognizing yourself. And although this person is in a position that symbolizes he or she is being recognized by outside environment, yes. But to me, it is a message of owning your value. When you own your value, when you realize your own value, you are then much more open to living your potential, which means abundance. So there's something very, what's the word I want to use here? There's something very pleasing about this card for me. And so, yes, this could mean that some of you are gaining recognition and reward in a work environment. Absolutely. For others of you, this is you getting recognized and rewarded in some way in a relationship. But for majority of you, this is you recognizing yourself. And as a result of you recognizing yourself, the universe or the world or whatever you want to call it, or people around you recognize it, and you are rewarded by it, whether it is reward financially, whether it's reward emotionally, mentally, spiritually, whatever the reward is for you, it feels good. So that's the first card that came up. The other card that came up is transformation in reverse. Oh, so this is, in this deck, it's called transformation, but it's the death card. So why is it coming up in reverse? Well, for some of you, you may have been resisting letting some things go. But for majority of you, I will say that you have been working very hard and very diligently in order to recognize your own self, and that has led you to some sort of transformation. So the way I see this card coming up in reverse is that you have been doing a lot of healing, as it's symbolized here by the green on her top body part. So healing heart. And you are moving through whatever the transformation is for you. Change of jobs, change of relationships, change of situations, change. Death of the old, birth of new. And I'm going to go to another card because I feel like they're connected. And the card that kind of corresponded with it is a card called Temptation, or in this deck is called Temptation. It is the Devil card, and it did land in reverse. So this is all about attachments. All about attachments. Again, it's coming up in reverse. So yes, for some of you, the message is that you have been resisting transformation or resisting letting something go, and also resisting letting go of attachments. Let's put it that way. Now, attachments, when we talk about attachments, we talk about ego. So resisting letting go is resisting letting go of ego attachments. Those ego attachments, I feel for many of you, pertains to the value you perceive about yourself. So perhaps for those of you who have been resisting the transformation or letting something go, perhaps it's resisting letting something go that undervalues you. And why would you resist something go if it undervalues you? Well, if it's something that you have been used to, if it's something that you have been trained to accept, or if it's a belief that you have that this is the way it is, then you would resist letting that go because that would imply it is the norm for you. But from what I can tell, from what I can see, particularly those of you who are dealing with issues around self-worth, this is going to be a time where you will begin to realize some things about yourself, even those of you who have been resisting. And the realization, again, is going to be, for most of you, that I am worth more than this. Whatever this is for you. It could be a relationship, it could be a job, it could be whatever it is, that you get the picture. And the firefly is a sign that symbolizes that you are in a place where there's an opportunity to take a chance, that there's an opportunity to shift, that there's opportunity to start something new. But inspiration, that's the word I want to get. However, the firefly is a symbol that basically says the moment of inspiration is here. So take advantage of that moment, but it will not last forever. So this could be that some of you will have a window of opportunity to move past something that has always not confused you so much, but has always perplexed you, particularly when it comes to your value. I can't stress this enough. Those of you who understand this, you are at an end of a cycle here. So the 10 of Wands symbolizes being cooked, being done. You have been there, done that. You have nothing more or nothing else to give. So yes, for some of you, it is about letting some things go. It is the number 10, which follows by the number 0, which is the Fool. So for many of you, this symbolizes an end of a cycle. It is not a major arcana, which means this is symbolic for something that's going on in your life, not necessarily something that is inherently within you, but whatever goes on in your life is inherently connected to what you think and who you are. So if there's been any fears, any any fears pertaining to self, not good enough, not worthy enough, not valuable enough, not special enough, not beautiful enough, not good looking, whatever that is, any feelings of insecurity, there's a chance here, a big chance that these will begin to lift. Now, things like this don't happen on their own generally. They generally happen as a result of you looking at your conditioning and choosing something different. So this often follows a choice that's being made that is made differently than it's been made before. So it looks like many of you are stepping out of your norm, and as a result of that, you are taking a chance. And as a result of that, you are taking a chance at allowing yourself to be seen, and therefore perhaps allow yourself to be a little bit more vulnerable. What's leaving? Well, Five of Swords came up together with this card called Place of Coins. So Place of Coins to me just symbolizes what area in your life is this affecting. And yes, it can mean financial for many of you, but more than anything to me, this symbolizes security within you. This is how secure you feel within you. And the Five of Swords is a message of needing to protect yourself. This is what's leaving you. Any sort of insecurities that are rooted in belief in lack of self on some level is on its way out. And again, I don't think it's just happening out of the blue. It's a result of the work you have done. It's the result of the transformation you have been going through. It's the result of you looking at yourself with clear eyes and making the choice to make a fundamental change. And that change begins with you. So I love seeing this. Let me just tune into this message here. When I tune into this card, I hear, I don't know where I stand, therefore I need to protect myself. So particularly in relationships, if you are currently in a relationship and you don't know where you stand, naturally you will have a tendency to protect yourself. Of course, that's very normal. However, it's for some reason you're letting that go, and I really do believe that is a result of you looking at yourself and finding more appreciation for you. So yes, this could be somebody recognizing you and somebody appreciating you, but more than anything, it's you appreciating yourself. It's very symbolic of you finding your own value and you solidifying your own value. Now, where are you going? What's coming as a result of this? Does it get better than this? You have the Six of Wands. This is a card of victory. This is a card of winning, although I don't want to call it winning because this is not about lose or win. This is about victory. This is about stability. This is about strength. This is about survival. This is about having accomplished what you have chosen to pursue. This is a good thing. The card that followed is Eight of Cups in reverse. Anything that you have been reluctant to let go of emotionally, anything that you have been holding on to for too long, anything that has served its purpose and is no longer fruitful to you, let's use that word, I feel that you're going to find yourself being at the top of it all. What do I mean by this? You'll find your way out of it. This is the Eight of Cups to me is a card of not letting something go, not being stuck. Being stuck, I don't know if that's the right word. Reluctance to let something go. And that would absolutely be connected to this devil card, which is also an addiction. So incidentally, for those of you who have had any addictions that are drinking, anything that is behaviorally not working for you, because, well, addictions generally don't long term, I feel you're going to find yourself being on top of it, which means you're going to regain your control. You're going to regain control of you. That's how I want to say it. Now, is this going to happen over the next few weeks? Perhaps for some of you. For others of you, you are on the road of reclaiming your power. And what does it mean to reclaim your power? Actually, what does it mean to reclaim your power? Because power is never really lost. We never lose our power. We just temporarily forget we have power, so we don't exercise it. So we don't exercise it. What does it mean to regain your power? It means that you become whole. You realize that there is nothing really within you that's missing, that inherently you are perfect just the way you are. It doesn't mean there is no room for improvement. It doesn't mean there is no desire to want something more. It doesn't mean there is no desire to want to be better. It doesn't mean any of those things. But it does mean that you fundamentally come to a place of acknowledging that you are perfect just the way you are, despite of what you may think. And yes, you may have some aspects of you that you may not be too pleased about, but it doesn't mean that inherently you're missing something. Is there another way of saying it, of putting it? It means that you accept yourself just as you are, with your quirks, with your bad moods, with your bad hair, with your, crooked eye, if you have a crooked eye, whatever it may be. And doesn't mean you can't change those things if you really want to, but when you come to a place within you, within your own being, where you accept yourself fully, unconditionally, 100%, everything that's you, the good and the bad, the indifferent, when you come to that space, you are no longer fighting with yourself. You're no longer at conflict with yourself. You're no longer fighting for something you feel is missing, because there's nothing missing. And I believe most humans feel they're missing something. We come into this world, we wear this bodysuit in order to experience certain things, and we come to a place of separation. We are taught certain things, we are led to believe certain things. You know how this goes. It's inherent to every human, I believe. However, the point here is that we are now at a point of our own humanness, evolution, where owning our true power and realizing that we are so much more than the physical aspect is a lot more doable. Can I say it that way? And when you realize that you're inherently absolutely perfect and you're having this human experience, it doesn't absolve you from having difficulties. It doesn't absolve you from having challenges. It doesn't absolve you from any of those things. But it does mean that you don't let your situation define you. You go through a situation, you learn from it, hopefully, you change some things, you shift some things, but fundamentally, you are okay. As a human being, as a soul, as a spirit, you are fundamentally perfect and fundamentally okay. And I do feel most of us strive towards that feeling, to know that everything is okay, to know that we are fine, to know that we are safe, to know that we are solid, to know that we are not missing anything, to know that we are whole. I'm hearing it's the wholeness that everyone is searching for. When we want things, when we are attached to things, when we are in need of things, is because we believe that these things will make us whole. But the problem with that is that belief stems from the belief that we are not whole, which means we are missing something. So Also, if we feel we're missing something, oftentimes it leads to addiction. It leads to us numbing our pain through food, through drugs, through sex, through alcohol, shopping, gambling, you name it. But when we realize that there's nothing really missing, it begins to change. So several more cards that kept up for you. Protectiveness, and abandonment. Okay? So this means that for some of you, the lack of self-worth is stemming from you feeling abandoned at some point in your life, or fearing abandonment. Now, the moment when we fear abandonment, generally it's because we have experienced abandonment on some level. And whenever I talk about abandonment, it does not mean that someone has necessarily abandoned you physically, but it does mean that you have felt abandoned emotionally, spiritually, physically, you name it. And if that's the case, naturally you would have protected yourself. So particularly those of you who are or have been involved in particular relationships, when you have always needed to prove your value or your self-worth. A lot of this for you will stem from the fact that you at one point have felt abandoned, and therefore you have worked really hard in order to try and prove yourself to others so that you do not become abandoned once again. Do I want to say anything else on that? No, I think I just want to leave it. The protectiveness speaks for itself. What are you trying to protect? What are you so afraid of? There's a lot of red happening here. To me, that's the root chakra. There's blue here. That's the throat to me. So for those of you who have had challenges with self-worth, once again, chances are you have had difficulties in expressing your own individuality, in expressing your own desires, in expressing your own needs. Perhaps because you felt that if you express your needs, someone would find it as a burden, or it would, I don't know, it would make someone leave. Whatever that is, the message is, what have you been protecting yourself from? What are you hiding from? The Seven of Wands in reverse also came up. And when I see this card in this position, to me it's a constant battle of trying to not prove yourself, not so much prove yourself, trying to protect yourself. That is how I see it. When it comes to me in reverse, to me it's almost like trying to hide from facing something. So if you have been hiding, or if you have been afraid to face something, chances are it's because you are trying to protect yourself. So again, the question is still the same. What is it that you're trying to protect yourself from? With all these things that I've said, I want to remind you that all that this is implying to me, with all the messages, with all the cards, that majority of you who are listening to this, it's all about your worth. It's all about your own value system. It's all about how you feel in terms of you owning your own self. And the recognition, once again, some of you may be getting recognized at work or in relationship. You may be getting a promotion. Absolutely, all that applies. But more and over and above that, it is about you recognizing your own worth, you recognizing your own self. If you are someone who has a tendency towards a lot of self-blame, chances are, again, it's a learned behavior. And what does self-blame do? Well, it just gives you a reason why things aren't working. But basically what you're saying is that you are the reason that things aren't working. And I guess there is some truth to that, yes, because we're all responsible for how we create life, more or less. But the point I'm trying to make is that self-blame doesn't really do much at the end of the day, because we just get stuck in this constant inner conflict. So if you have had a lot of self-blame, if you deal with a lot of self-blame, you might want to look at where it comes from for you and see if you can find a way to free yourself from it. And first recognize, what does it give you when you blame yourself? What does it give you? How does it serve you? I always say that whenever I ask these questions, the general comeback is, it doesn't serve me. But I always say, well, it always serves you. It may not serve you in the way you recognize it, but it always serves you. Perhaps for some of you, self-blame keeps you stuck in this constant imprisonment of inner self-loathing. And that's a pretty strong word. I hope not too many of you can relate with that, but it's coming out. So self-blame will perpetuate that self-loathing. It doesn't help. It's not helpful at all. Again, majority of you who are listening to this are coming to an understanding within yourself that you are complete the way you are. You're not missing anything. There's nothing missing from you. If something is not working out in your relationships, it's not because something is missing in you or something is missing about you. It's that inherently you have a certain belief that ultimately attracts your experience. So particularly for those of you who have had patterns of self-loathing or not appreciating yourself, you will probably notice as you look at your life that you have had experiences or a string of experiences that continually made you feel less than. The reality is that the moment you begin to shift that around, the moment you begin to restructure how you think, it's the moment where you begin to shift and change how you feel. And how you feel and what you think is what constitutes your experiences. So to me, this is absolutely epic. Absolutely epic. If you have had issues with self-worth, if it comes from your conditioning and you are turning that around, your entire life is going to change in a matter of time. So if there was anything that I wanted to leave with you, is this card. This card. This is what you are heading towards. This is victory. Yeah, let's call it victory. Again, whether it's in a relationship, whether it's in a job situation, whether it's just the way you feel about you, whether it's something you've struggled with for a long time, whether it's addictions you've had for a long time, addictive behaviors, addictive relationships, addictive, you guys get the idea, addictive. You seem to be coming on top. A lot of you seem to be coming on top. For some of you, it's with help from somebody else. A kind friend, excuse me, a counselor, perhaps someone like me. There's obviously help can come from many different sources. So for some of you, it's with help from somebody else's. For others of you, it's self-help. You have been working towards self-help. You have been helping yourself, and you have been shifting your perspective, which shifts the way you think. And like I said, the way you think is how you feel, and how you feel is often what you attract to yourself. So whatever this is for you guys, this is absolutely amazing. And I don't usually say the word epic, but I'm going to say it. It's epic. And I do want to say this thing here, the abandonment. That's not a small thing. It's not a small thing to overcome. I myself have had challenges with abandonment, feeling abandoned. So it absolutely affects you to the core. It affects your value of who you are. It affects your ability to express. It affects your ability to attract what you want. It affects your ability to voice what you want. It affects your ability to be confident. It affects so many things. It affects everything. And so if you're dealing with this, if you have been dealing with this, I want to say to you, congratulations, because you have overcome some pretty major roadblocks and hurdles, and I want to say that. This message is mostly channeled, so I'm speaking to someone, even if it's just one person. I do have a feeling it's more of you. And I think I just want to wrap it up with that. So whatever this means to you, I hope this was helpful. If it makes no sense to you, listen to it down the road. Chances are it'll make sense to you, because this is something that, if you've been dealing with abandonment stuff, that's something that's been long-standing. That's not something that's just going to happen, in the next few weeks. That's a long time coming. That's a long time coming. It's been happening for a while. But if you've been dealing with this and you're overcoming it, and this is where you're going, you're on top of it, that's a beautiful thing. That's a beautiful, beautiful thing. Okay, for some of you, March is very important. You have nothing to do with March, Cancer. No, you're in June, July. Somehow March is very important, and the number 21. So I don't know if it was March, this last March, or March coming up. There's something about March, something that's ending. So for some of you, you will perhaps understand this chapter ending in March of next year, and that's possibly because something is going to be presented to you that will be different than anything else you've ever had before, and you will be standing in front of a very interesting situation. Either you accept something that is new to you and you step out of your comfort zone and you make sure you don't sabotage it, or you push it away and then you go back to your old ways. So very, very interesting for some of you. All right, with that said, I wish you best of luck. Please take care of yourself. Always remember, you are perfect just the way you are. Doesn't mean you can't make changes. Absolutely, I do all the time. But make sure you make these changes. Make sure when you do make these changes, it comes from a place of you wanting to have a different experience versus you not being enough. Because you not being enough, there's nothing out there that will fix that. That's something that you have to inherently look at within yourself. Okay, I think that's all I've got for you. Thank you so much once again. If you would like to have a private session with me, that information, of course, is down below. I trust you guys know how to find me. I wish you best of luck, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Take care.